This is things you might not have heard from the Conversation Project, your home for headline news, information, and pop culture references that are worth chatting about. Today, we have 8 stories to chat about, as always, and a little bit of a switch, a little late getting in, pressing buttons as we sort of swap some things out as breaking news, if you will, happening. But we do talk about the big things, including the government shutdown. Oh, yeah, the government's still shut down. Also, a big sports gambling bust that we're going to get a chance to crack at Cash Patel for doing a good thing, but not doing all the things. And your earworm for the day comes from Flow Rider because we got a chance to have all the hit the floor, and then everybody can keep their eyes on her with a surprising thing for 2025. Plus 5 other stories to come around 8 for the day. Remind you that we have a website. This is a conversationproject.com where you can find out all details about what we're doing here and the whys behind most of those things. Origin story of replays of shows and links to other places to find us. If this place that you've stumbled upon is not the place that's really your cup of tea, we also have links there to our partnership page. We ask you to consider that and other sponsors, although today we're going to spotlight ground news as we usually do most of the days here. Now, we'll get on to the big stories for the day right here, right now. Thank you for being along with us. Hopefully you'll enjoy this ride for a Friday. The Senate failed to pass a bill that was Republican-led to pay essential federal workers during an ongoing shutdown. They actually didn't vote to open the government and end the shutdown, but they wanted to pass a bill to make sure that federal workers all got paid. The Republicans pushed what's called Shutdown Fairness Act to cover pay for essential workers, and it drew 54 votes, short of the 60 needed to advance, i.e., no quite guarantee for government workers who, at this point in time, 24 days in, are starting to realize that they're not going to get a couple of paychecks for a while. Democrats argue that the bill let the White House pick winners and losers rather than reopening the government and guaranteeing back pay. A competing Democratic proposal to pay all affected workers stalled amid the same impasse. For the shutdown narrative, the failed cloture vote lands both parties in a bad place. Talking points for both to keep on spewing their vitriol, but at the same time, not fixing the problem, opening the government. Right now, zero relief to TSA, the FAA, and military families at this week who don't have the guarantees are getting paid. They have shuffled money around to make sure that it's covered. However, that means the money that came from the shufflings are not covered. Renewed pressure from unions and governors on day 24 and beyond, since it won't be cleared on day 24 today, to get this thing figured out with no obvious and omnibus path in sight. See what I did there? Omnibus path. Meanwhile, not only is Trump wrecking, buildings, he's wrecking relationships with our neighbor to the north specifically, as the talks with Canada on trade have essentially been halted. They're done. We're no longer chatting them up, as a very controversial Ronald Reagan ad aired along the Canadian lines. Trump declared the U.S.-Canada negotiations terminated, citing an Ontario ad that spliced Ronald Reagan's audio to slam tariffs. Now, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation wasn't so keen on this either. They're happy about the use of Reagan in the ad, but Ottawa itself, Canada itself, has not confirmed that the formal break-offs of any talks, that the talks are really done, other than Trump saying we're done with it. They're not saying, at least Canada's not saying, we are actually done. So what's going on is sector-specific talks on steel and autos, things like that, were already strained by escalating tariffs and lawsuits already. And just this one little thing was the straw that broke the camel's back, with the button that pushed him just too far. And after hearing the Ronald Reagan talk, or I should say the AI Ronald Reagan talk about tariffs being bad, Trump decided that trade deals with Canada were bad as well. Now, this is sort of pot calling kettle, as Trump is really big on using AI and using edited stuff to torment his enemies, yet someone torments him with something similar, although the Reagan folks have the right just as much as Kenny Loggins to say they don't like it. It gets bad. Storyline pivots from deal-making to damage control. Both capitals head into a summit session to figure out what's going to happen, because we can't live without Canada. We really can't. So we're going to see how we work our trade with Canada, because they should be our number one, well, they are our number one trade partner, but they should be number one deal in the books. For some reason, Trump thinks not dealing with them means we can annex the entire nation. I get confused. I also am confused about the mayor's race in New York City. As I've said many times, I am glad I don't live there. I asked my family who lives there why to live there, because the choices they are given here in this race are essentially bad, bad, and bad, and was bad until now. One of the bads who became less of a bad is now joining up to make a super bad, as Eric Adams is endorsing his rival and his partner in the Democratic Party, more or less, in the mayoral race to try to defeat that evilness that is that one guy. We'll talk about him in a second. But a late night campaign jolt has New York City mayor, the current mayor, the guy who's not going to win the job again, Eric Adams, endorsing Andrew Cuomo, the former governor, who is embattled, who has issues, but apparently they are going to come together to make rivals become partners, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Because Cuomo, on his independent bid, trying to take over the job for the mayor's race and rehabilitate his actual political action, is taking on the Democrat who is basically the front runner on all counts. That is Mr. Zohran Mamdani, a guy who Adams Cuomo casts as too far left for City Hall, and many people around the nation are a bit worried. New York believes they want this, so yeah, fine, whatever. But going this far left in the Democratic Party seems like a calculation that many Democrats across the nation don't want to go to, because this is kind of how they let MAGA in the first place. This move is actually going to test whether the centrist coalition, and there's probably not enough centrists in this thing, can dent the double-digit polling lead with less than 2 weeks left for the election. Now, the mayoral narrative is pretty simple. Adams to Cuomo is less about issues and more about just math and trying to counter the swing that has right now Mamdani in the lead. Curtis Sewa is still there. He could have endorsed Sewa, but the problem is the numbers that he has aren't good. There was literally no chance of Republicans getting the mayor's race here. Is always going to be someone more Democratic. That's how New York rolls. And it's not a problem with New York being Democratic. That's not the issue. It's how liberal, how Democratic, socialist, how far to the left can New York City go before a correction, or is this actually the correction? Many people are keeping eyeballs on this. And as many pundits have said, as New York goes, not necessarily the nation goes, but it does become a shining beacon of what could happen if these things happen. We had some breaking news as I was wrapping this up, as we have Target announcing a very large number of layoffs happening in the next couple of weeks. So we didn't swap that out for this one, because this one got all the love from you guys in the feed yesterday. But this is one where we're talking about how we are all being hit by things. We're all having insecurity, and with the government and things being where they are, the smallest thing can become a big issue. Right now, we're looking at a story where Meta is cutting 600 jobs from its artificial intelligence divisions with some restructuring. Now, this seems like a bit of a weirdness factor where AI is taking over everything, but they're cutting AI jobs, Meta specifically. They're trimming these about 600 roles inside the AI organization. What a shift from big platform research to produce revenue tethered AI. Less of the stuff that's going to learn stuff and grow and be good for us, more for the memes of President Trump flying over with planes and pooping on people. Internal messaging frames the reorg as speed and focus, but externally it reads as a reset with heavy superintelligence hype. The AI layoffs put pressure on rivals to show shipping cadence, essentially start making things that are going to make money, not just benchmarks where it's getting better. It actually has to pay for itself. For your career, infrastructure and applied teams are safer harbors than moonshots during the cycle. Make sure you're lined up with something that is really deep in depth into your company, as opposed to something that's reaching out for something new to make things happen. Now may not be the best time for innovation. Now's the time maybe to play it really, really safe. Taking a pause in our news coverage here. 4 stories down, 4 more to go, including the biggest one of the day that wasn't Donald Trump tearing down the White House. That's coming up in a moment. But first, we need your help. We're going into the weekend, so it's going to be a lull time. We had some couple issues, bad grammar. We had some issues this week, a couple times, and last week and week before, where we've had some issues where we could not complete the full deal of getting you these things you might have heard, and some days short clips and things like that. Sometimes it's technology, some days, as this is recorded streaming, and the streaming recording actually does the AI to pull the clips for the shorts. When the audio goes wonky, when the internet gets a little bubbly, it gets kind of weird. In fact, watching this on replay, I've listened to in some of the air checks where the internet got bubbled up. It got really confusing, so I get that. But we need to help us push on and get better and honestly to buy better stuff. So if it's in your means, and right now, trust me, all we're talking about is how the means of everyone is getting less. Reader support. We believe that we're giving you some good news stories, a mix of things that you may have missed here or there, and some good journalism. Despite that I'm aggregating. So help me help the rest of the world see things in a brighter light, if you will. Like the video you're watching now, whether it's on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook, we get payment, we get funds, we get sponsorships, we get ad dollars from the things you watch on YouTube. So that helps out a lot. We also get your input on X and Facebook to help us pick the stories that are more conversational. If you know someone who may like this thing, who you don't think is getting it, share directly with them on the best route possible. The algorithm will see the people watching it and hopefully share it more people, get more folks engaged. I will see the likes and shares, and I will know that this is good stuff. Keep on doing the good stuff. Rest up, do the heavy stuff, make it work. If you're not getting this directly in your feed, if it'll share to you or the algorithm decided this today was your day, go ahead and subscribe to it. The medium that in which you've been found today is not your medium. If you want more hot takes, short takes, go to our website and find the links to us on TikTok, or make sure you follow us on YouTube and follow the shorts we do as well. Find us for our email newsletter. We do that via SendFox with links to there on the website. We still have podcast audio that pops up here and there when I have the time to actually cut it up properly, so it's there. Find where you want us to be, and we will be there. Or tell me where you want us to be. We'll be there. We do our best to give you great news coverage on top of all sorts of topics, and it's not just limited to whatever is the top 10 stories on the rundown for the major networks. It's literally going through all the boxes, combing through everything we can, finding things that are interesting, and asking you what looks like it's good, and getting feedback from you. So thank you so much for your feedback. We love you. Back to the news. We already did a hot take on this one, so there won't be another one going forward. But this is the biggest story out of yesterday, and it's big for a couple of reasons. We'll talk about the ironies of it at the end. Now, Coach Chauncey Billups, currently coach of the Trailblazers, the legendary Hall of Fame basketball player from Detroit, and a player, Terry Rozier, who's currently at Miami with the Heat, were arrested in a Widening federal gambling investigations. 3 basketball people were arrested yesterday. One, a retired player that was a part of this stuff. But essentially, it's 2 very simple operations. Operation number 1 with Chauncey Billups. The coach was a part of some schemes to basically cheat at cards, cheat at poker, some high stakes poker games that were set up to cheat and keep big name players there, so big name people come in there and get whales, people with lots of money who they could probably siphon off and literally cheat. They use like spy glasses and high-tech stuff and earpieces, all sorts of things, phones that could count cards. It was amazing watching the people show how the technology could use to cheat people out of cards. And that's what Billups was charged with, and that's what he was pulled in for. Now, there are 2 separate things, as I said. Terry Rozier was picked up for prop bets, essentially giving out information on players, and of course, sometimes playing down to his potential to make sure that prop bets that are popular on apps are not made, so that people would lose and they would win out that one. The reporting shows the inside information on both ends intersecting with the players and prop bets and the inside information for the gambling. Oh, by the way, involved with organized crime. So the families, and I'm not going to do my bad Godfather impression here because I have other bad impressions to do later. The families were involved with this one. 30 people picked up for the 2 charges. The actual cases won't be covered for a couple of months because they got a lot of paperwork to do. Both Rozier and Billups were essentially dismissed from the NBA, put on leave immediately until something is set. We're going to see what's going on because mobile betting is a big part of all sports now, specifically NBA, as you see actual live players. LeBron James talking about, placing bets, not on basketball, but they brought in Shaq to do basketball betting. But you can see this going on there. Now, this was a swift and very disciplined action, and it's been something in the works for a while, years in the making, so says the folks behind this. And Cash Patel had a chance to come out and show that he had some leadership potential and not screw something up, which is good, which is fine. We're going to give Cash those props, showing up for the photo op where he had about 20 guys standing around to talk about the rest of essentially the basketball players, which made this something to look at. But no Epstein files. Not yet. Trump did some things yesterday, but this is not a thing he did. It's a thing that Jack Smith wants to do. The special counsel is calling for public testimony to counter the misleading claims about the Trump investigations that he put on. Jack Smith asked Congress and the DOJ to let him testify in public, saying misinformation about Trump probes in filling up a vacuum. And you can't let the information out from his lips. People will put in whatever they want it to believe they hear, and they're hearing some very bad things. The request is unusual for a former special counsel because most of them want to do it in private and want to be on the record, but not on the record, if you know what I mean. The court filings are more good enough for what's going on, not going out there speaking and having a chance to be, befuddled, maybe miss a question, or be basically beaten down in public, because that's what this is going to be. It's essentially a beat down by congressmen and senators on just to attack Jack Smith. And the other side, they'll be like, Jack Smith, you're a hero. We should do more stuff. So these things are usually wastes of time. However, Jack Smith believes that because there is misinformation on how things are being played, specifically the way President Trump is playing them and his followers are believing them, he wants to set the record straight and put his words into the record under oath and then go from there. You can still call him a liar, still call him, fake. You can watch the recent performances, and I'm going to call them that, by Cash Patel and Pam Bondi to show exactly how these things go. But politically, public testimony would actually relitigate the whole thing. And so we'll see what happens. Remember, Donald Trump did not have to face Jack Smith because Donald Trump became president and told his bosses to let it go. Not because he won the presidency and told his bosses to let it go. This was kind of a weirder story, an odder story. It came in with a lot of funny sort of thought process to it, but it's a very serious story. And as you go deep into it, everyone who covered it went into the points about it being a real issue. It's just sometimes the messenger is a bit off. Gucci Mane shared about his update on his health after he revealed he's dealing with bipolar and schizophrenia diagnosis. The rapper, who is extremely popular, he may not be top of the charts, but he is all over your local scene. He had a disclosure in his new book about updates saying that treatment's ongoing and supported for bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. Coverage of this is underscoring the rarity of high-profile artists who are saying, I got problems. That's the thing. The stigma is there. The stigma follows when people get caught doing odd things and getting in situations where they're. Here's a person who's stepping up from the get-go saying, hey, I've had some issues getting some performances done, had some issues doing some work. I have issues going on because I have these diagnoses. Oh, by the way, I'm working with them. Deal with it. Brand partners of staying with him completely, saying this is exactly where industry folks should be. Not just whining about stuff, not just having, I'm having a mental health day. Oh, I'm feeling sad. Actually saying, I have an issue. I have a problem, if you will. I have a diagnosis. I have a serious medical condition, and I am dealing with it. I will do what I can to entertain you as fans. That's how I make my money. But since you pay attention to me, I have a platform. I have a chance to say this. This is going on. As a person myself, no one's listening to me and my platform who deals with mental illness things and has a big affinity for people who talk these things out in public. I definitely am down with Gucci Mane. Not so much down with his music because I'm way too old, but that's a whole nother issue. Person who's willing to step up and say, these are the issues I'm dealing with. Hey, black men, go get checked out. This is a big deal. This is a huge deal. And hopefully we can do more on this one going forward. And pull out the apple bottom jeans because the boots with the fur now exist. Crocs has teamed up with T-Pain for this new collab that is for Croctober. And it's called, T-Pain has his boots with the fur. And there you go. Cheetah print knee-high boot made by Crocs. Collab is built for mean velocity and limited drop urgency. So get your boots with the fur right now because they're going to sell out very fast. Here we go. Nostalgia plus novelty plus constrained inventory remains a conversation triad. Get your footwear now. They're not going to make it. I mean, they could mass produce the stuff, but then the meme and the song is kind of old. So, but for that girl who wants all the people looking at her to go low, low, low with them boots, I'm pointing to where the picture is on my monitor because I know I'm not pointing nowhere near on my thing. Them boots with the fur are there. T-Pain found a way. If he can find a way, gosh darn it, anything is possible. Whatever your dream may be, you don't stop dreaming. And the other earworm I had on was Hold On Tight to Your Dreams by ELO. That was in my mind today. And of course, the Flash theme from Flash Gordon by Queen. I'm not sure how those two connect, but get low if you can with them boots on and get yourself some. I don't believe JJ is going for these boots. That song and meme are a bit too old for her. Christine with a K, she might go for it though. What we need you to go for is helping us out in the process of being viable as a journalistic organization. And that may be loosely, if you will. But we do our best to provide for you news stories and coverage of stories that are important to know about and some that are kind of off the beaten path that you may have missed if you weren't using us as a tertiary news source. Now, if you need a real great tertiary news source, we have Ground News, and we've been using them to help fact check our stuff for years. And we are blessed that they allow us into the pantheon of people who have them in their sponsorship kitty. Now, what you get from Ground News is news from the sources, all the sources, news from various news organizations that when you get to know who they are, who's behind them, what's going on, whether they are a podcast, because a new podcast stuff now, whether they are a blog, whether they are a real journalistic site with real journalistic values or not, you can see where the story's coming from, what headline they're using, and what sort of bits and pieces are they pushing in their narrative. It's a great way to know if your story is a bit off or way too on in some cases. Now, what they have that's really awesome with their Vantage Plan is something called a blind spot feature. And you can go through and look for stories that are being overly covered by specific outlets, various memes and silos out there. So if you're a person who is stuck in a misinformation loop from your silo of choice, then you'll see what things they are showing you a lot of, which will be obvious. But you can also see what things are not showing you much of at all, which aren't as obvious. And you can see what the other side, whichever silo you're on, what the other side is doing for them, what sides they are showing for their people that they want them to really get into their red meat or ice meat, whatever, and what is on the colder side of going back and forth. That's in the Vantage Plan. You get 40% off that Vantage Plan by using the link we have here at this is a conversationproject.com/ground news. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news, and get the great news today. They'll give you all the facts, all the figures, because they'll give you the actual links to the news articles as they're presented, and you can figure out what's fact and what's figured on your own. Do your own research. Do your own research. Do your own research using Ground News. Our website, this is conversationproject.com. Find out more details about how we do things, back orders, back channels, back episodes, and recordings there as well of things you might have heard. And of course, links to our origin story and other places you can find us, plus sponsorships and partnership links as well. The Conversation Project website, email address is conversationinbox@gmail.com. Email us for chat, and find us on Facebook and X so you can be a part of the conversation, literally by helping us pick up what stories we're going to chat about every single day, including the weekend. We look through the weekend and kind of keep an eye on the feeds, not only for the Monday edition show where we'll give you 10 stories for the weekend, but kind of the things that are riding, going back and forth for the hot takes we'll do for the weekend as well. Today is Friday. Or as I wrap this up on the recording, it's still Friday, October 24th, 2025. Whether you're watching this live with me this morning or you're watching this in the middle of the day on Friday or sometime in the future in whatever sort of media this is, we thank you for going into the news of the day or the history of that day with us. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, reply to anything you want to, emails or comments. Let us know what we're doing. Let us know how well we're doing, how well we're not doing, and what you think we can do to sort of make on those low days to get things going. I have to be honest. We've had some Gucci Mane depressing days lately where we had to worry about some stuff and just kind of weren't really into it. But I've gotten some great feedback on some things to make sure that I need to tell you that I understand You folks out there are getting something out of this. So we are doing our best to give you something every single day. We don't want to make this a labor, a chore. It's a labor of love, but not a chore. So that's where we're doing things. So still working to try to do some more collabs, get some more folks on here, maybe do some interviews if time allots. Other things in the way. If you help to push this forward, or you know somebody who wants to jump in and help, I'm all ears. Love you. Mean it. Have a great weekend. We have, spooky sleepover coming over. So we're just going to see how that works out. I think I'll get the spooks out of it because the 13-year-olds are kind of spooky. Enjoy yourself. We'll see you again, hopefully, come Monday.